So good afternoon, Ari and Lucy. It's really a pleasure to see you. I unfortunately didn't see you at the LESS conference this year. I ran into Daniel Kraus from Flix, and it made me think of Flix and of the two of you and the work you've been doing. I know you gave a presentation on dreaming, thinking, and doing, and really wanted to hear that. What can you tell me about the history and how you came about it? What did I miss? And maybe some other people like me can also hear about what we missed.
Okay, thank you. So Lucy, if you could say something about yourself.
Yeah, just a quick, I'm Lucy Karpova, and I've been senior agile coach for 5 years in Flix, all Flix. And as soon as I heard about this pattern, I cannot let go ever since. Ari, would you tell a few bits about yourself, please?
Okay, so I'm an external coach consultant, did some software, worked for Nokia a long time, and over 10 years now being independent. And I also was working as a coach at Flix some years ago, and Lucy contacted me for some mentoring, and then I just casually was drawing this model, and Lucy was grabbing it immediately. And that is also how it has come, just appeared accidentally. I was working at BMW, and I was drawing this on a sticker or on a clipboard nearly every day, just to have some context to explain some detail in the development process. Because in big companies, the development process is extremely complicated, and you cannot explain bigger things there because you are drowned in detail. But to have something really high-level overview is just giving you something where you can have any discussion. Now, I try to share this model with you just to show it, so that here we go. So as you see, it's really, really simple. It's just all things that we do actually go like this. So if I want a cup of coffee, I'm first dreaming, I would like to have a cup of coffee. Where do I fetch it? Is it this coffee machine here or there, or should I make it myself? What kind of coffee? And then I go and do it. And if a family is planning a new house, maybe first dreaming about it, maybe the parents first, and then if it becomes more solid, they are maybe involving the kids and asking advice from other people, neighbors, friends. So it goes to thinking, and then maybe into some action, some doing. And then something huge, like if BMW is planning a new car model. So dreaming first done by some really, really experienced board members, even who have done this for decades. They dream, then some several hundred people work, they create a real size model, having all the colors and shapes and so on. And then it goes further, and some more people are involved in this thing, doing design, for example, for the electronics and the displays and so on. And it goes gradually into doing.
Well,
so, I mean,
what strikes me is I have this sense that you're getting at a part that is rarely described, which is the sort of inspiration, the initial spark that gives rise to something that might be as simple as getting a coffee or as complex as a completely new car concept. And I've never seen this before, despite the fact we've worked together so many years. So
yeah, and thank you for pointing this out. Now I would like to stop sharing, but I lost some window that is stopping the sharing. So I know it should be somewhere. Okay, sorry, this is confusing.
Are you wanting us to see another page, or you want to stop?
No, I would actually like to stop sharing, and it just doesn't. Now I use this trick that I just kind of stop the presentation, then it was killing the sharing. Okay, yes. So coming back, Greg, here. So when I was first time sketching this and seeing how powerful it is, I was kind of disappointed about agile movement because no one told me this. I have been involved with agile since 2005 and no one told me this. And it's so powerful.
I think it's cool that you start talking about that, there should be
Yes.
someone.
So, I mean, the agile movement is studying it's kind of turning every stone and finding every fancy, unrealistic model. People are inventing some fantasies and celebrated in some conferences. And then this kind of thing that is so simple, so basic, so powerful, no one told me it.
So the kinds of dreams that that you have or that you've been able to identify, has the model help you to communicate them or to have them in the first place or to recognize them?
Well, this is Lucy's turn now.
Well, yeah, I worked through a bunch of domains in Flix, and last March I started working with marketing. And when I joined, they had one agile transformation that failed, and they asked the agile coach to leave. And then in a couple of years, I come, and people are firefighting, and there are 2 product owners for 7 teams, and nothing. Some things work, but not the way people expect it to be. And then we start with, with the last part. We started with Scrum, then we started with product thinking together. But then, even though it was helping, but we still somehow couldn't align, and people were saying, so we talk, but we never really sync on the deep level. If anything changes, I have to come back, and we need to synchronize with the leadership again on what to do. So people were feeling that they were executing the plan, but were not really, planning it. They were not really dreaming it. And I said, okay, are you ready for an experiment? They said, okay, we trust you enough. Let's try something. Okay, it's simple. We dream, think, and then do together. Before that, we did and thought together. Now I'm inviting you to dream in. And it's okay, let's do it. So we got together with the leadership, and we 90-minute session. We had 6 criteria, team health, leadership, org maturity, product, and then technical excellence. And we figured that everybody is dreaming about the same thing. 13 leaders, different visions, different parts of marketing. We want the same style of leadership. We want the same products. We want the same technical excellence. Even if people don't really didn't really have technical teams, but they respected technical excellence. And that was such an eye-opening thing for us. So we kind of landed at the idea that the strategies for realization are different, but the dreams are the same. And it kind of grounded us and put us in a really good, synchronization place. And then we decided, okay, if this experiment went this well so far, let's ask the teams. And in marketing works more than 100 people. So we had the team all hands, and we asked, what is your dream team? And people started putting the words, and we had the word cloud, right on time, right at the same time. And what we saw is that people wanted to have supportive, collaborative teams. They were not really looking for the results. We were looking for the results. They wanted the belonging. And we're okay, this is something we need to take care about. As for leadership, they wanted not just inspiring, result-driven, blah, 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 but they wanted empathetic leaders who understand. And we're okay, we never mentioned this, so we're adding it to our, dream-like leaders. And then we asked only 3 questions. And then the third one was product. And as for product, they wanted innovation, and they wanted the products that work. And we're okay, this is really, really good. And then we took this insight and went into thinking, and we planned, some action items. And, the most important thing I got is that you really need to advertise every single session well, because for dreaming, everybody came. For thinking, 5 people out of 13, because they had, and I also chose badly, they had vacations, somebody got sick, so badly advertised thing is a badly advertised thing, full stop. And then as for the doing part, it's about reminding and checking, so where we are now. But now I see that in smaller groups, like domain leadership, 3 people, we first dream, then we think, and then we do. And they keep on, so like somebody approaches like, okay, we want mentorship program on Flix. It's like, okay, let's do dream and think and doing. It's like, okay, I think it flew really well. So this really amazes me because this dreaming part, it really somehow unites people. And then we don't have that many egos. We don't have that much selfishness. I want my idea to win. Like we dream, together. It's really cool. It's really uniting. And that's the spark I was missing before. So thank you, Ari, a lot for that.
So inspiring.
Okay.
And so actually coincidental. There's a friend and fellow coach who you may know, Claudia Baumgartner, who I met at BMW and then worked with at Mercedes-Benz. And she wrote a thesis for her bachelor's degree on the agile transformation at BMW. Mm-hmm. And she analyzed what were the factors that led to better collaboration between teams. And briefly, summarizing a 100-page paper into a couple of bullet points, there were 2 things that she found that led to more cooperation between teams. One was having free time to exchange informally, lowering the barriers so that people could just talk. Mm-hmm. The second one was co-creating a vision. And the co-creation of the vision reminds me in quite directly of this dreaming stage that, as you described, helped people to align, realize that they had a common vision, and create a kind of unity and common purpose. This is at least what I'm taking away a little bit from what you're saying. Does that seem to match with your experience?
When I have been thinking about this, dreaming about this dreaming, I would like to stretch your thinking, Greg.
Please.
Because that's actually my kind of trauma with this agile movement, what it's teaching, is that if you think about agile, sorry, this is a long story now, it has started from development. So you remember this funnel thing, it has started from the pipe. So, okay, let's do the pipe better. I agree, it's essential because otherwise things are stuck and it doesn't work. But somehow agile movement has been stuck there. And I know, Greg, that you also have been wanting to explore the product owner's field, the funnel part. So agile movement is really slowly and gradually going towards the kind of product owner world, the funnel part. And if you just imagine Mike Cohn's first product owner training, which was showing the model, okay, this is what the product owner does. So it's prioritization of ready features. I mean, that's really tiny. Where are they coming from? Yes.
It's operational.
Yes. So agile movement is really, I would say, stuck mentally in their starting point. They want to explore, but still they stay in their field of this development funnel. If we take less and feature teams, okay, they want to stretch because the feature teams are really active in product backlog refinement and so on. But I mean, it's still the end part of the funnel.
Yeah, they're not really innovating in the sense of bringing in new ideas necessarily. They're splitting existing ideas.
And they also, it would be exploding their praise. I mean, even in a startup, there are some owners who are dreaming, and then there are some team, maybe just a handful of developers who are just kind of mostly working with the kind of creating the stuff. If they would be sitting in the same room, the developers wouldn't get anything done because they would be interrupted all the time. So we need some process where this kind of work separately and come together. Okay, now coming back to your point where I would like to stretch you. Like Mike Cohn was only focusing on prioritizing ready things. Creating a vision is already approaching thinking. Dreaming is something that I hold the intention, and let my unconscious to bring new stuff.
Ah, yeah, interesting.
Then I go and meet some other people, and we start to talk. I was dreaming of this, and the other person says, I want this. This is my dream world. And then it goes into thinking. You see, I want really to stretch it into extreme.
I see what you mean,
That's the new
because
thing.
the dreaming is not a guided process. It's not a directed process. It is a completely free process when you're dreaming. It's it's perhaps even unconscious if we're thinking about dreaming at night. But
it's really unconscious. I mean, unconscious is working all the time, and it's really kind of attractor driven, if we want to use some nice words, because when we want to create something like a vision, we already constrain the brain to think narrowly. We need to create some vision with some model that has some qualities like, well, better than others, and then our brain is experiencing inhibition and the dreaming is narrowed down. So
yeah, so
we go to extreme.
Yeah, that's a very helpful insight, and it's refreshing. As I've experienced it, the problem of being too far down in the execution is a frustration that many people share, that the desire to help invent or to create is what causes many people to leave big companies to do a startup, because then they feel free to dream and free to do something different. So do you have advice for companies that are stuck? It sounds like you have an example from Flix and probably other places. How should a group get started if they want to embrace this simplified, enabling, dreaming, thinking, doing approach?
I don't have a textbook yet.
It doesn't have to be. But let's just do a role play. Let's say that I'm the CIO of a big company, and I'm under lots of pressure from my stakeholders to deliver projects that have been defined for the next 5 years. And on the other hand, the CEO has said that we just don't innovate enough. We need to think radically differently. We're being threatened by our competitors, and I count on you, Mr. CIO, to get us out of this situation.
Yes.
What's something I could do? Let's say it's Friday. Let's say starting next week. How could I get started?
Yes. Okay. As a fresh consultant in our meeting, this is actually what I did. This year I had a gig about creating continuous improvement or supporting continuous improvement in a certain company, big old company, over 100 years old. So in the negotiated meeting where I agreed my gig, I was drawing the model and actually writing it like this, saying, okay, this is how things really work. So I want to support you here. And now if we apply this dreaming thinking here, so what would be your dream in this situation?
I would dream.
Mr. CIO.
Yeah, and I can imagine already starting to dream, because I would first of all want to be unburdened from all of the day-to-day delivery responsibility and pressure that I feel. So I'd want to feel safe to be able to imagine things.
Yes.
As though I was in a adequately funded new startup, seeking a market, seeking a product, seeking an inspiration, and then talk to people about problems they have and brainstorm about possible solutions. Or
yes.
Just wouldn't it be cool if, and then complete the sentence.
Yes. Very good. So thank you for, now it's my turn to return my dream or respond to your talk. So just not to get into 2-hour simulation about the case, I'll just briefly say that next I would like to bring up the 82 article new product development game, because they actually they brought some people for 3 months into some place. I mean, the key brains of the company, said, no one is calling you. You have 3 months' time and you need to come up with a new product. And it succeeded in several cases. So you kind of started to create space, completely separate space to do things, and let this natural process appear. And if we think about teamwork conditions, so you need to have challenging, consequential task, they had it, supporting context, so you have anything you need, just call me, but we don't call you. And then, well, the right people.
Mm-hmm.
So this would be just an initial starting point, and gradually you need to involve everyone in dreaming to the extent that they can own their own work. So not BMW's 60,000 people need to dream about everything. But if you work for some area, you need to dream about what you own, then you can own it. If you are just thinking and doing some other dream, then you don't own the thing.
Yeah, the
So
sense of
that would
ownership
be,
is, I understand how that's key. I'm curious about the, Lucy, you said something a little bit earlier around the mentorship program and some desire to improve it or stimulate it, or can you talk a little bit more about that? That seems like a really outside product development example of this model.
The thing is, you know that Flix is growing, and we're growing at the scale that, you know, the mentorship programs didn't scale some time ago. So then we didn't have any, and now we want the mentorship program back, and we want the whole company to be doing that. So people approach me and saying, like, we come from different domains, can you help us synchronize? It's like, and of course they were talking about problems, and of course they were talking about limitation, and of course they were talking about how difficult it is to get all of the domains talk about, at least 2-3 domains talk about the same thing that they want to improve. And I was like, what if we hold on? What if we start with dreaming, thinking, doing? What if we try to invite the right people? And then we let them experiment autonomously. We don't have to make the same one thing for the whole company. We can experiment with different shades of what people think would be right. And this is where we stopped so far. So we are getting the list of people to talk together. But I'm pretty sure, it's bottom-up approach. So people come and say, I want it, let's do it, because HR tried, they failed. And now, people feel the need, and we'll make it happen. And this is the approach we have chosen. As soon as we get all the people together and figure out the slots that work for everyone, then that will be something I will be using this pattern next. Because from different domains, when we are not aligned with the goals and we are not aligned, we are kind of aligned with the need, but, there is no company, like big company void to feel. It's the people that feel it, but not, the leadership. Then I think that is also the right approach, because then they feel like they own what they're creating.
So if we were speaking to a leader then about this, it sounds to me like it would be create space, permit autonomous organization, get the right people in the group, that it won't be directed, and that what comes out will be a surprise, and that there's basically a leap of faith required, delegation or letting go. And it's interesting because what you were saying, Ari, about the kind of cognitive state of dreaming as opposed to thinking or doing being distinctly different, I really got that. And then Lucy, when you were describing the sort of alignment of divergent groups when they're not aligned, maybe aligned on the goal, or the problem, but not the goal, and not aligned on the strategy on how to do things, it seems that there are multiple dimensions to this.
Maybe there would be a coaching question for the CEO. So if I try to formulate it here now on the fly. So Mr. CEO, you see that you want these people to dream your dream. They are not aligned. They don't even know what you dream. So for this company, we need to create a space for dreaming where people are dreaming their own dreams and they will gradually align. And this is a safe experiment, and it is actually a cheap experiment.
It's very uplifting, this conversation, to me. Just imagining the positive reaction of people who are given freedom. And I remember when I was involved with both of you at Flix, the team self-design workshop was the highlight of my time there. And the freedom that people had to choose who they'd work with and what they'd work on created obvious happiness. But what was even more surprising in a way to me was the co-founders' elated expressions. I think because they really truly wanted to see other people being happy, and they didn't actually have to do it. They just had to create the space.
Yes.
So it's nice, yeah.
I was thinking a counter example from those times because I was working among the other coaches and we were given the task to implement a given constitution, which was not even a very good one.
A manifesto.
Yes. It was the opposite.
It was
Sorry
thought up on high and then imposed.
Yes.
Yeah, lessons learned from what not to do, despite the best of intentions.
Yes. Yeah, that was a good word because their best intentions. If you separate dreaming, thinking, and doing, then some people dream who have power, they have resources. Then they say to the thinkers, we truly respect your thinking, so please think our dream. And then, of course, it goes downhill. So then these thinkers say, okay, Mr. Doers or Mr. and Mrs. Doers, so we really appreciate your hand skill. So we have done all the thinking for you so that you would have as easy as possible to just do what people have been thinking. Isn't this kind of benevolent thinking?
It's a benevolent Taylorism, but it's an interesting dimension of Taylorism that isn't normally described. You know, Taylorism talks about thinking and doing. It doesn't ever bring up dreaming.
Yes. So it's not only agile movement, it's the whole world. I remember I have seen this funnel in one book. It was called New Product Development. It was written by the consultants who created the stage gate model for Nokia networks. I was talking to one of those writers of the book, and I was reading the book, and they had this funnel. They called it the fuzzy front end. So it actually, the spark of this funnel was not given by agile movement, but these evil kind of waterfall consultants.
Yeah, it's amazing how biased we become, thinking that we have the good way and they have the bad way, when in fact we're all probably trying to do the same thing.
I can add another example of anti-pattern, how not to do that. I told about this model to a friend who works in the other domain, and they did the dreaming part, and then they did the thinking part, but then they forgot to follow up on the to-do action items. So they dreamt, they thought together, but nothing unfortunately got done, and then they kind of remembered in 6 months and like, anything done? No, we forgot. So I think this is also the catch, right? You really need to go through and to remind that it's not just dreaming, because then people would say, but we dreamed once, maybe enough.
Wasn't that enough?
If it didn't get implemented in reality.
That would be something, because I mean, speaking about this dreaming is easy. It's nice to do, uplifting. And then if we think about the difficulties in doing, so some huge companies like Volvo, for example, I was in a car development conference this spring and was listening to the talks. So for example, Volvo has tried to create some agile things since 2017. And even people quoting, okay, we tried to implement this model and it just doesn't work. We tried it 3 years, it didn't work. So now they were only talking about experiments. So you dream, and then you dream together, and then you go quite fast into some action. Okay, we want to make an experiment, and this is of course let's say works with organizational development. You can quite easily devise some experiments, but big companies can create huge experiments, for example, involving nearly 1,000 people in creating some market experiment. Well, they have unbelievable resources.
Yeah, it's bigger is not always better, but they can potentially. I think we should probably wind up fairly soon. Just I know that you both we've gone at 10 minutes over the time that we'd originally planned.
That's fine. We have time, no problem.
But I think it's a fascinating conversation, and I'm inspired personally from what you've shared with me today. And I think that for others who might hear this video and want to learn more, what's the best way for them to, well, I had one other question actually, but you can think about what would be the best way to contact you. Probably this video will be on your LinkedIn page or in other places where people could respond to that. And I think I'll post it also. I'm quite inspired. But I had one other question, which is kind of the cycle time. So Lucy, you were getting at the fact that we did the dreaming once and, everything should be fine. Clearly there's in the little diagram you shared, Ari, there's a feedback loop of after doing, coming back to the dreaming. Do you have any suggestions on how frequently? Is it a continuous process? Is it a periodic, especially if the dreaming, and I begin to pick up the term dream together as opposed to just dreaming apart, that one of the key things is that it's a shared dreaming that causes the alignment that Lucy especially was talking about. How often do you think, what range of frequency?
Thank you for reminding me those things, really important. So actually the slide said that feedback loops. So they're all size of loops with different cycle times, like in the original waterfall article.
Okay, it makes sense.
And then second, some general or some very famous person has said that a dream is nothing and dreaming is everything. So it's actually the process. You continue dreaming. That is the source of your energy to kind of do things. And dreaming is something that connects you. You know that belonging is the strongest internal intrinsic motivation. Belonging. So if you dream together, think about what it does to your belonging.
Fantastic. Thanks for helping us dream together.
Yes.
It was a fantastic way to spend a little time on a Friday afternoon.
Month. Okay. if you Greg, just whenever you put it, if you just put Gosei.fi link there so people can contact, or you can put my LinkedIn in.
I'll put your link. I'll put your link. I'll put both of your connections in there. And thank you so much for that. So until the next time.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank
you.
Thank you, Lucy and Ari. Have a nice weekend.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.